Jake was not your average tourist. With a thirst for adventure and a heart full of curiosity, he had always dreamed of exploring the wild landscapes of Africa. This trip was his chance to dive into the beauty of nature and witness incredible wildlife up close. He had spent months preparing for this expedition, reading books about the animals he might encounter, and studying maps of the untouched regions he planned to visit. If you enjoy this video, please like the video and subscribe for more. And tell me where you are watching from today. I always find it awesome to see where all my viewers are watching from. Let's get back to the video. As Jake landed in a small village surrounded by endless stretches of savanna and thick bush, he felt a rush of excitement. The air was warm, filled with the scent of earth and grass. The locals welcomed him with friendly smiles, their eyes sparkling with stories waiting to be shared. Like many travelers before him, Jake was captivated by their tales of magnificent lions, graceful gazelles, and colorful birds that painted the sky. Each day brought new adventures as Jake set out early in the morning with local guides. They trekked through sprawling grasslands where herds of elephants roamed freely and climbed rocky hills that offered stunning views of the landscape below. Jake took photographs, sketched animals in his notebook, and soaked up every moment of this incredible journey. However, there was something else that sparked his curiosity even more than the wildlife. The sounds of the bush at dusk. As night fell, a symphony began. Crickets chirped, frogs croaked, and in the distance, he would sometimes hear the deep roars of lions echoing through the darkness. While most tourists would remain safely within their lodges at nightfall, Jake found himself drawn to these powerful sounds. What were those lions saying? Were they calling to each other or warning others away from their territory? One particular evening stood out among all others. After a long day filled with fascinating encounters, watching zebras graze and witnessing a majestic giraffe bend gracefully to drink from a watering hole, Jake returned to camp under an expansive, starry sky. As he settled around the crackling fire with other travelers, recounting tales from their day's adventures, he suddenly heard it. A series of strange roars that didn't sound like any lion calls he had ever heard before. They were deeper and more resonant than usual. A kind of roar that sent chills down his spine, but also filled him with excitement. Was something unusual happening? Had another animal wandered into lion territory? His mind raced with possibilities as he listened intently. While others around him chatted about their plans for tomorrow's safari routes or laughed at stories from past trips, Jake felt an urge tugging at him, a strong desire to uncover what lay behind those mysterious roars. He imagined himself being part of something extraordinary, discovering hidden secrets in nature that few people ever witnessed. With determination settling in his chest like a steady heartbeat, Jake made up his mind. I have to follow those sounds, he thought resolutely. It was going to be risky. After all, going off alone into the bush could lead him into dangerous situations, especially if it involved lions. But Jake couldn't ignore that pull. Something deep inside told him this was an opportunity he couldn't pass up. He quietly slipped away from the campfire while most people were distracted by conversations or preparing dinner. With only a flashlight and his sense of adventure guiding him, Jake stepped into the cool darkness outside. The moon hung high above him as he walked cautiously through the dense underbrush, listening closely for any sign that would lead him closer to those strange roars. The shadows danced around him as branches swayed gently in the breeze. Every rustle made him pause for just a moment. Jake moved carefully but steadily toward where he thought the sounds originated from. His heart raced as adrenaline pumped through his veins. He tuned out everything else except for those enchanting roars that seemed almost like they were calling out directly to him. As he navigated through shrubs and dodged thorny bushes, Jake couldn't help but marvel at how alive everything felt around him. Insects buzzing nearby sounded like tiny musicians playing an invisible concert. Insects glimmered like jewels under his flashlight's beam, while distant howls echoed faintly in contrast to what drew him forward. What awaited him on this expedition? Would it be danger or discovery? With each step taken into uncharted territory came both excitement and trepidation. But one thing remained clear. Jake was ready for whatever awaited beyond those strange lion roars, because deep down inside himself lay an explorer's spirit waiting to unfold its wings. Under the vast African sky, with stars twinkling like diamonds, Jake settled around the campfire, absorbing the vibrant tales shared by fellow travelers. Stories of breathtaking encounters with wildlife danced through the air, filling the night with laughter and excitement. Yet, amidst this cheerful gathering, something else called to him, a haunting and powerful sound that echoed from the depths of the bush. He had heard lions roar before, deep and thunderous, reverberating like rolling thunder on a stormy night. However, these sounds emanating from the dark seemed different. They were rich and layered, vibrating with a primal energy that neither terrified nor comforted him. Instead, they sparked his imagination, igniting a need within him to uncover the source, an ancient beckoning echoing through the wilderness. Just as he leaned closer to hear better, a sudden hush fell over the camp. Voices softened as if the very fabric of the African night held its breath. The roars persisted, larger than life, rhythmically intertwined in a way that struck a chord deep within Jake's adventurous heart. Each sound tugged at him, inviting him to step into a world beyond flames and safety. Jake's friends and fellow travelers continued to joke and talk about their guided tours planned for the next day, oblivious to the melody of mystery that swirled just beyond the light of their fire. In their eyes was comfort and ease, positions familiar to many tourists. But for Jake, that distant sound held secrets waiting to be unearthed. "Do you hear that?" he asked his companions, who briefly paused and glanced at him quizzically. "Hear what?" One of them replied with a chuckle. "It's just a lion calling its pride." "No," Jake insisted. "It was something more. It sounds different. There's something odd about it." His interest was met with friendly chuckles and playful eye rolls. They probably thought he was being dramatic or silly, but this only drove him further into curiosity. The roars were now almost melodic, weaving in and out, like whispers winding through thick trees. The allure pulled harder at his conscience, whispering promises of an adventure unlike any other he had ever experienced. With his heart pounding with excitement and a hint of apprehension, Jake rubbed his palms together nervously. Every beat felt like a new moment standing at the brink of another world. All he needed to do was go after those strange sounds. He turned away from the laughter and warmth of the firelight, slipping silently into the shadows beyond where others remained. The moon lit his path in silver hues as he stepped cautiously over rocks and roots, his breath shallow with anticipation. The familiar sounds softly faded behind him as he ventured deeper into the bush. The rustling of leaves filled the air around Jake as he moved forward, guided solely by those captivating roars that mingled with the evening sounds of chirping crickets and croaking frogs, nature's orchestra under the moonlit sky. As he walked closer to where he believed the sounds were strongest, his senses sharpened. Every gust of wind carried hints of earthiness and mystery that heightened his excitement. With each step, Jake imagined all sorts of possibilities. Maybe it was a rare breed of lion not often seen by humans, or perhaps something even more exotic hiding among dense bushes and tall grass. He could almost picture himself being the first to document it for travelers around the globe to marvel at later. The idea of discovery fueled his steps. The path started to narrow, covered with various shrubs that reached out like hands seeking to pull him back to safety. But Jake pressed on. He listened intently. With each additional roar, he could feel energy thrumming through his body. This was no simple stroll. This was a quest for knowledge hidden just beyond his reach. Suddenly, another roar rang out. Closer this time. It sent shivers down his spine, but only heightened his determination. With curiosity paving the way beneath, layers of uncertainty, Jake found himself moving faster towards the source of those calls. He dodged low branches that gracefully swayed overhead as shadows flickered around him like memories waiting to unfold. Every rustle in the grass made him feel alive. He stopped periodically under small trees to gather himself. His heart raced wildly while the night enveloped him in a cloak of mystery and thrill. What if what he found would change everything? What if these strange roars would reveal new insights about wildlife, or led to uncovering baffling secrets hidden within this wild land? As Jake kept stepping deeper into uncharted territory, filled with sounds both inviting and foreboding, there was no turning back. He embraced whatever awaited him in the dark. Danger or discovery lay ahead. Either way, he was finally ready for something extraordinary. Jake stood at the edge of the campfire's warm glow, the laughter and chatter of fellow travelers fading into the background. The roars from the bush continued to echo around him, a primal sound that filled his mind with images of majestic beasts and the power of nature that he longed to witness. His heart raced. He couldn't shake the feeling that following those sounds could lead to something extraordinary. But as the excitement surged within him, so did a pang of fear. What was lurking beyond the safety of the camp? Could those roars belong to a lioness protecting her cubs, or something even more unpredictable? Jake weighed these thoughts in his mind, knowing that adventurers often faced risks. Still, the urge to discover what lay hidden in the shadows outweighed his worries. Am I really considering this? He whispered to himself, glancing back at the campfire where friends were gathered, sharing stories of their own encounters with wildlife. They seemed content and safe, a contrast to his rising intrusiveness into unknown darkness. Yet Jake felt a fierce longing dance within his spirit, compelling him to embrace the challenge before him. He took a deep breath, grounding himself in the moment. The night air was full of life, the rustle of leaves swaying in the breeze, and distant animal calls made everything feel magical, yet haunting. What if I see something amazing? He reasoned, letting excitement creep into his thoughts. The idea of discovering a rare sight kept pulling him closer to the unseen world. His heart thumped louder in rhythm with each step he considered taking into the bush. What if I miss out on something incredible because I stayed behind? The thought churned in his mind like a raging river, carrying away any remaining doubt he harbored about venturing forth alone. He focused back on the sound, a low, resonating roar that rumbled through him like thunder far away on the horizon. It couldn't just be lowly lions calling for their prides. There was a mystery woven into this sound itself. Jake imagined the kind of animal he dreamt of encountering. Something magnificent and mysterious, perhaps unlike any creature documented in his books. What if it's an undiscovered species? He thought excitedly. With adrenaline pumping through his veins, Jake briefly envisioned being hailed as a hero for documenting something extraordinary. The chance to share his finds with others and nudge them to respect these wild places more deeply. Could this be what I'm meant to find? Jake's imagination raced, as if leading him on a journey towards destiny itself. The amplification of courage towering over fear fueled his determination. He began playing out several scenarios in his head, every one leading to thrilling discoveries. But just as quickly as these thoughts invigorated him, hesitation flickered again like a candle fighting against the dark winds outside. He reminded himself how important it was to stay cautious. It wasn't simply an adventure, but also potentially dangerous. What if I run into danger out here? A lasting fear nagged at him, threatening to dismantle the reassurance he found in his dreams. Still sensing an allure greater than any fright prowling through his mind, Jake turned around and took one last glance at the warmth and safety of the campfire flickering behind him, as if bidding him farewell. He could vividly picture himself laughing and chatting alongside fellow tourists who remained blissfully unaware of what awaited him beyond those shadows. But instead of retreating back to familiarity, he felt something shift inside him. He wasn't merely walking toward shadows, he was advancing toward opportunity. The roars resonated and called again. With each pulse echoing from beyond where few dared tread, they beckoned him closer to answers long kept hidden by nature itself. I can't let fear hold me back, he finally declared quietly, yet firmly within. Gathering all confidence he could muster, Jake stepped into the embrace of the dark bush ahead, casting aside second thoughts. It was time to surrender himself fully to this unfolding adventure. As he ventured forth deeper into nature's realm illuminated only by moonlight overhead, anticipation expanded within him like pressing steam in a kettle about to boil over. Each sound revealed whispers of hidden wonders inviting discovery. Every corner held both risk and possibility. The allure loomed larger as fear transformed into fascination. Jake was ready to meet whatever awaited him out there in the secrecy shrouded under thick trees and dancing shadows. Yes, it was just a simple decision. But what that decision sparked within him would alter everything about this unforgettable safari forever. Jake stepped into the cool, dark embrace of the bush, the sounds of the campfire fading behind him as he navigated through thick foliage. The night was alive with the rustle of leaves and the soft kisses of the breeze against his skin. As he ventured deeper, he felt a thrill rush through him, a mix of anticipation for what lay ahead and awe at the beauty surrounding him. The moonlight illuminated his path, casting a silvery glow on the underbrush and creating patterns as shadows danced around him. Jake paused for a moment to take it all in, inhaling the rich, earthy scent of soil mixed with hints of sweet wildflowers nearby. He could hear crickets serenading each other in the background, almost like nature was welcoming him into its enchanting world. As he walked cautiously, Jake's eyes darted around, searching for movement among the trees. Suddenly, a flash of color caught his attention. High above him perched a group of vibrantly colored birds, their feathers shimmering like jewels against the backdrop of night. They chirped and squawked in delight as they flitted from branch to branch, occasionally dipping low to investigate Jake's presence. Wow, Jake breathed in amazement. He watched intently as one bird, a striking yellow canary with patches of black on its wings, swooped down to examine him closely before zipping back to rejoin its friends. The playful little creatures brought a smile to his face. They reminded him of the joy that life brought in every moment. Continuing on his path, Jake felt more at home in this wilderness than he ever thought possible. Suddenly, sounds erupted nearby. Laughter like chattering mixed with occasional shrieks echoed through the treetops. Curious, he cautiously crept toward the noise and pushed aside some larger leaves. to his surprise, he stumbled upon a troop of playful monkeys swinging between branches overhead. They chased one another with energy that seemed limitless, their agile bodies darting from limb to limb while others hung upside down, showing off their acrobatic skills. One particularly rambunctious little monkey paused mid-swing just long enough to peek down at Jake and let out an adorable screech that made him chuckle. "Looks like you're having fun," he said softly, not wanting to scare them away. The troop responded with more playful antics, some scurrying up trees while others engaged in mock battles for dominance over a bright red fruit they had found. Jake crouched down so that he could better observe their joyous activities without intruding too much on their game. He felt lucky to witness these animals in their natural habitat. A priceless moment for any traveler seeking adventure. Feeling inspired by this unexpected encounter with nature's delights, Jake pressed on into the brush again, excitement bubbling inside him like sparkling soda ready to overflow. With every step deeper into this journey came new sensations. The air felt thicker with plants and living beings surrounding him. As he continued following those mysterious roars mixed amidst other evening calls, his senses heightening, Jake's mind buzzed with wonder about what might reveal itself next. A chorus of frogs croaked excitedly nearby, while unseen insects hummed subtly around him like nature's background music playing exclusively for his eyes alone. Just then, Jake heard another sound amidst this symphony. Something rustling through grass not too far ahead. A presence that kicked up a feeling both exhilarating and uncertain within him. Entranced by curiosity, yet mindful of caution, Jake approached carefully, but soon caught sight of magnificent antelopes grazing peacefully under an enormous baobab tree adorned with stars shimmering overhead. Their sleek forms glided gracefully as they took slow steps through patches of grass illuminated by moonlight, each one peaceful and unaware of his watchful gaze, as if time had paused just for them. He was utterly captivated by their beauty. Strong yet elegant creatures, moving in harmony with their surroundings. Taking several steps back until he could step into shadow once more, while remaining hidden from view, allowed him to witness quite possibly one of life's most heartwarming scenes unfold. Male antelopes playfully sparring against each other while females grazed contentedly nearby. Every movement felt deliberate yet effortless. A dance created by nature itself, unfolding just beyond, where the city dwellers rarely wander anymore. Each new encounter unveiled layers forming part of this remarkable tapestry surrounding Jake. The call for discovery, urging him onward further still. And urgency appeared within his heart, racing alongside every beat, pounding louder than footsteps before. Adventure beckoned, tempting temptation alike. But what awaited behind each corner just remained unknown. Driven ever onward toward those enigmatic roars echoing deep within this wild realm stirred passion, yearning for breakthrough moment never imagined. With newfound determination resonating through his every fiber, wildlife spread forth under starlit canvases, inviting further exploration, combined intricately alongside unforeseen outcomes set surely within environmental realms, personifying enchantment itself. The air around Jake grew heavier as he continued his journey deeper into the bush, driven by the alluring roars that echoed through the darkness. Each step brought him closer to a sense of impending discovery, and a thrill danced along his spine as he ventured further into the unknown. As he navigated through thick underbrush, an unusual stillness enveloped him, contrasting sharply with the vibrant life he had just witnessed. After what felt like an eternity of wandering, Jake finally caught sight of something peculiar ahead. A faint outline of an opening nestled between massive boulders covered with creeping vines and moss. The entrance looked like a dark mouth gaping into the earth, swallowing up all light and sound. It felt both inviting and ominous, like a secret waiting to be revealed. The roars he had been tracking seemed to emanate from within this hidden cave, growing louder and more intense as he approached. Jake hesitated for a moment at the cave's edge, heart pounding in his chest as anticipation mixed with trepidation. He could feel a chill in the air that sent shivers down his spine. This was no ordinary place. Shadows loomed large around him as flickering moonlight struggled to penetrate the thick foliage surrounding the entrance. He took a deep breath, savoring both the fear and excitement swirling within him. The cave appeared to be ancient, its walls rugged and uneven, etched with patterns carved over centuries by time and nature. Small trickles of water cascaded down the rocky surface, creating soft splashes that punctuated the eerie silence inside. Jake could hear echoes of distant growls mingling with dripping water. It was as if the very walls were alive with stories whispered by those who had come before him. Summoning his courage, Jake stepped closer to peer inside. The darkness loomed like an unfathomable abyss, but his curiosity propelled him forward despite gnawing fears whispering doubts in his mind. What was hiding within those shadows? Could there truly be a lion's den lurking inside? The thought ignited a spark of thrill once again. After all, this was what he had set out for. Adventure mixed with glimpses of untamed wildlife. With each cautious step into the cave's mouth, Jake illuminated his flashlight beam against damp stone walls studded with crystals that glimmered like stars in an underground sky. Fascinated by their beauty, he continued deeper along narrow passages where low sounds echoed eerily back at him. As he delved further in, the roars became clearer, now amplified and more resonant than before, as if they were coming from close by within this rock embrace. Something primal stirred within him. It felt like being drawn into a heartbeat radiating from somewhere deep in this hidden world. Drawing nearer to what felt like its center, Jake noticed markings on the walls, scratches and claw marks that told tales of creatures entering and leaving this space over many years. Could they have left behind remnants of past hunts? He shivered at thoughts swirling within his imagination. The atmosphere shifted again. Every heartbeat seemed louder than before as anticipation fluttered wildly in his chest. As he rounded a bend in the cave path, everything fell silent for just a moment, holding its breath as if nature itself anticipated what would happen next. And then he saw it. Just ahead lay an open area bathed in soft moonlight, filtering through cracks above. A sanctuary deep within stone where greenery flourished amidst rugged textures. But even more mesmerizing was what lay beyond. Shadows danced along rough walls where figures moved gracefully in rhythm beneath flickering lights. In that single moment spent gazing upon this hidden spectacle, filled with wonder mixed with awe, Jake realized how lucky he was to witness such raw beauty nestled away from prying eyes, heart racing faster than ever before. The roars echoed louder still. It became clear that mystery awaited beyond these layers. What creatures claimed dominion here? Were there lions resting nearby, or perhaps other unexpected inhabitants? Every sensation heightened, excitement mingled with fear, creating tension strung tight across every nerve until bursting forth anew. Jake stood frozen for one last heartbeat, standing at this crossroads between worlds. The wildness calling him forth while shadows beckoned caution against certain danger ahead. What lay beyond would change everything about his expedition forever. But would it also change him? Each pulse drove home just how deeply nature could touch one's spirit when faced against its rawest forms. Jake took a deep breath, his heart racing as he stepped further into the cave's depths. The roars that had enticed him through the darkness grew louder and more powerful, echoing off the walls like a drumbeat. Each step felt like a dance with destiny. He was on the brink of discovering something extraordinary. as he rounded a bend in the rocky passage. The cave opened into a vast chamber, bathed in soft moonlight, filtering through cracks above. The sight before him took his breath away. This was not a lion's den as he had imagined, but a sanctuary filled with life. Brightly colored birds flitted about the high walls, their vibrant feathers glowing against the stony backdrop. They chirped excitedly, creating a symphony of sound that mingled with the low growls he had followed into this haven. But Jake's gaze soon shifted downward, where he noticed movement in the shadows. There, nestled in the lush greenery that thrived in this hidden world, were rare and endangered animals. Creatures he had only read about in books. A group of elegant servals lounged lazily in a sunbeam, their spotted coats blending seamlessly with the dappled light. Nearby, a pair of slender cheetahs groomed one another affectionately, their sleek bodies radiating power and grace. Jake's heart swelled with awe as he observed these magnificent animals living free from harm. He realized that this cave was not just an ordinary shelter. It was a refuge carefully protected by the local community, who understood the importance of preserving these rare species and their habitat. In that moment of discovery, everything clicked into place. The mysterious roars were not calls for dominance or warnings to intruders. They were expressions of life thriving within this sanctuary. The echoes reflected not fear, but harmony among creatures coexisting in this hidden world. Jake felt a rush of gratitude for those who had dedicated themselves to safeguarding these animals from poaching and habitat loss. He moved quietly along the perimeter of the chamber, taking care not to disturb the delicate balance that existed here. A pang of responsibility washed over him. He understood this was an opportunity not just for personal discovery, but also for sharing this vital story with others. He pulled out his notebook and began jotting down observations and sketches. Every detail mattered if it could help raise awareness about conservation efforts. Suddenly, a soft sound caught his attention. A gentle rustling followed by quiet growls from deeper within the cave. Curiosity piqued once more. Jake followed those sounds cautiously, drawn toward an area cloaked in shadow. As he crept closer, his breath caught in his throat at what lay before him. In a small alcove nestled against the wall rested several tiny cubs, playful little creatures with soft fur and bright eyes that sparkled with innocence. They were lion cubs, but unlike any cubs he'd ever seen before. They were playing together under their mother's watchful gaze. She looked up at Jake momentarily, her amber eyes both fierce and protective, but also conveying a sense of understanding. Jake stood frozen in wonderment. He had stumbled upon something rare indeed, a new generation born into safety thanks to the efforts made by those who cared for them. This wasn't just any lion den. It was proof of hope amidst a world often filled with challenges faced by wildlife today. The mother lioness relaxed slightly when she sensed no threat from Jake. Her focus returned to her playful cubs, tumbling over one another in delight. He felt privileged to witness such intimate moments unfold before him. It reminded him why he had embarked on this expedition in the first place, to connect with nature and its wonders. As Jake backed away slowly to respect their space, thoughts raced through his mind about how to share this revelation with others back home. How could he convey not just what he saw, but also what it meant? This experience transcended mere tourism. It was about understanding our role as stewards for these animals and their habitats. With renewed purpose igniting his spirit like fireflies dancing through twilight skies above him, Jake left that hidden sanctuary, feeling transformed by everything he discovered inside this cave. No longer merely an explorer seeking adventure for himself, he felt like an ambassador tasked with carrying forth stories of hope that could inspire change far beyond these verdant walls. As he emerged from darkness back into the cool night air outside, a world illuminated once more by stars, Jake knew deep down that this expedition had changed him forever. He wasn't just following mysterious roars anymore. He was now part of something larger than himself. An intricate web connecting people to nature's wonders, waiting to be safeguarded for generations yet to come. As Jake stepped away from the captivating scene of the lion cubs playing in their hidden alcove, he felt a wave of excitement mingled with curiosity. The cave was not just a sanctuary of animals. It was also home to dedicated guardians passionate about protecting this delicate ecosystem. He remembered the stories shared by local villagers about people who had devoted their lives to preserving wildlife and its habitats. And now he had the chance to learn more about them. With a newfound sense of purpose, Jake moved cautiously deeper into the cave, excited to find out who these guardians were. As he rounded another bend, he encountered a small group of people gathered near a table covered with maps, field notes, and tools for animal care. They were dressed in practical clothing suited for long hours spent outdoors: earth-toned pants, sturdy boots, and wide-brimmed hats that shielded them from the sun. "Welcome," exclaimed a woman with warm brown eyes and sun-kissed skin. She stepped forward with an inviting smile that radiated kindness. "I'm Amina, one of the conservationists here. We're thrilled to see you've made it this far." Jake introduced himself and explained his journey into the bush, highlighting his motivation to explore the mysterious roars that had drawn him here. Amina nodded knowingly as she listened. It seemed many adventurers before him had followed the same instinctual call toward discovery. "Those roars you heard belong to many creatures living within our care," Amina shared passionately. "We're part of a community-led conservation initiative aiming to protect these rare species and their natural habitat from poachers and human encroachment." The other conservationists stood close by, nodding along as Amina continued her story. They all felt a sense of pride in their mission, one born not only from a love for animals, but also from the desire to educate others about the importance of preserving nature's beauty. Jake learned that several animals in this sanctuary had been rescued after being orphaned or injured in their natural habitats. The group worked tirelessly every day to rehabilitate them while ensuring they remained wild enough to thrive once released or raised within protected environments. This was no simple task. It required constant vigilance and immense dedication. "Many people believe lions are solely kings of the savannah," Amina said, gesturing toward a nearby wall decorated with photographs showcasing various species they cared for. "While they're magnificent creatures, we must also recognize the importance of preserving entire ecosystems. Every animal plays its part in maintaining balance." Jake felt inspired watching Amina communicate her passion so effortlessly. He could see how fiercely these individuals cared for the wildlife surrounding them. The deep commitment they held shone through every word spoken and every smile exchanged. "How can I help?" Jake asked earnestly, eager to contribute in some way after witnessing such incredible dedication. Amina's face lit up at his response. "The greatest help comes from awareness. Share what you learn here. Use your voice when you return home." She motioned toward maps and educational pamphlets spread across tables around them. "We have resources that explain not only our mission, but also ways others can get involved in supporting wildlife conservation efforts." A surge of determination filled Jake as he listened intently, absorbing every detail shared by this inspiring group. He realized he was no longer merely an observer on this expedition. He was becoming part of something much larger, a movement aimed at connecting people to nature's wonders while ensuring their survival through collective action. As Jake engaged with fellow conservationists, exchanging ideas on how best to spread awareness, He also learned about challenges facing those protective structures outside this cave. Habitat loss due to farming practices or poaching for meat trade that threatened many indigenous species' survival. By sharing stories and insights garnered during conversations like theirs today, together they could shine light on these pressing issues and perhaps inspire change among communities worldwide. Feeling empowered by this new understanding stirred within him like flames, turning embers brighter in darkness. Jake pledged he would do everything possible once back home, gaining support not only through awareness, but advocating actively for tangible solutions, helping protect wildlife effectively across borders. As time passed within that haven, surrounded by guardians, committed fiercely towards safeguarding lives dwelling beneath stars above, a sense of camaraderie grew between Jake and these passionate individuals bonded together through mutual respect centered around nature's resilience. He knew his adventure was far from over. Rather, it had transformed beyond individual exploration toward embracing stewardship as essential duty formed through newfound connections, fostering hope amidst thriving ecosystems needing tender care. With his heart full and mind racing towards ideas, waiting eagerly outside those cave walls illuminated softly overhead, a world bursting forth anew awaited beyond shadowy depths, where secrets cherished since ancient times intertwined flawlessly alongside legacies yearning forevermore. As Jake immersed himself in the work of the conservationists, he began to see wildlife and nature through a completely new lens. Gone were the days when he viewed animals merely as spectacles to be observed during his travels. Now, they represented something far deeper. They symbolized a delicate balance that needed protection, and he realized that every creature had a role to play in maintaining that balance. Amina and her fellow guardians educated him on the challenges facing these animals, issues stemming from habitat destruction, poaching, and climate change. Each story they shared rang like a warning bell within him, revealing how human actions could threaten the very existence of species he had just begun to appreciate. He listened intently as they spoke about the interconnectedness of life, the way plants provided shelter for animals, and how each predator kept its prey in check. Jake recalled moments from his childhood spent watching nature documentaries that often painted wild creatures as dangerous or fierce. But now, standing among these passionate conservationists, he understood that such portrayals seldom captured the full picture. Nature was not simply a backdrop for adventure. It was an intricate web woven together with threads of respect, care, and responsibility. The realization struck him like thunder. Humans could either help or harm wildlife, and this understanding ignited a fire within him. He no longer wanted to be just an observer, but rather an advocate for change. The knowledge he gained about endangered species in this sanctuary filled him with determination to educate others back home about their plight. One afternoon, while sitting with Amina and reviewing educational pamphlets aimed at engaging local communities in conservation efforts, Jake's resolve grew stronger. What if I organized community events to raise awareness? He suggested earnestly. We could host talks or even school workshops highlighting what you're doing here. Amina's eyes sparkled with excitement as she nodded enthusiastically at Jake's ideas. That would be amazing. Engaging young people is crucial. They are our future stewards of the earth. Together, they brainstormed ways to incorporate storytelling into activism, sharing personal accounts of success stories from the sanctuary alongside tangible actions that people can take. Jake felt inspired. His mind raced with visions of local teams rallying around efforts to protect wildlife through various initiatives. It was more than just raising awareness. It was about changing mindsets toward empathy for all beings who inhabited their planet. A chance to cultivate respect for fragile ecosystems encompassing numerous lives. He also learned about sustainable practices that could make a difference in preserving habitats without sacrificing resources needed by local communities. From eco-friendly farming techniques to responsible tourism practices, each topic opened new doors for dialogue between conservationists and those living alongside nature's beauty. As Jake's perspective shifted dramatically over those days spent within the cave sanctuary walls, filled with creatures thriving against all odds, it became clear. This journey was leading him not just towards adventure, but also toward purpose. By educating others about the importance of protecting wildlife through partnerships built on trust, collaboration, and shared values. Together, they could foster positive changes, ripple outward beyond borders. Every animal seen through his eyes now carried significance. Every bird that flew overhead became symbolic of freedom protected by guardians like Amina, a reminder for humanity's responsibility toward its co-inhabitants sharing this precious land. As night fell each evening, stars twinkling brightly above, the whispers of nature echoed softly around them as if encouraging Jake onward. With newfound knowledge came hope, a belief that together they could safeguard their world's most vulnerable inhabitants against threats looming large on distant horizons. Jake committed himself wholeheartedly. He knew returning home would no longer mean simply recounting thrilling tales from an expedition. It would mean sharing inspiring stories rooted deep within experiences shaped by love for wildlife, nurtured through compassion, cultivated here amid extraordinary surroundings. He envisioned gatherings where stories inspired action, bridging gaps between cultures. Everyone united under common goals aimed at fostering understanding that would yield lasting impacts, helping ensure future generations enjoyed seeing nature thrive as vibrantly as he did each moment spent, witnessing life unfold during this remarkable journey. The weightiness of responsibility embraced him like a cloak. But instead of feeling burdened by it, Jake felt empowered, realizing he had found both his voice as well as direction, paving pathways forward toward ensuring harmony existed among all living creatures connected intricately through shared love for this beautiful planet they called home. When Jake returned home from his expedition, he felt an overwhelming sense of purpose coursing through him. The experiences he had gathered in Africa, the vibrant wildlife, the passionate conservationists, and the hidden cave sanctuary swirled in his mind like a beautiful tapestry woven with threads of adventure and responsibility. He was determined to transform the inspiration he gained during his journey into meaningful action. As soon as he stepped through the door of his home, Jake began to outline a plan. He wanted to share the stories he had lived and learned, not only for himself, but also for the animals that needed a voice. The conservationists he met had taught him about the urgent need to protect endangered species, and he felt it was his duty to raise awareness in his own community. Jake decided to organize a series of events at local schools and community centers. He envisioned lively presentations filled with colorful photographs capturing the beauty of the animals he encountered, alongside compelling narratives about their plight. He knew these tales would resonate deeply with children and adults alike, encouraging them to connect with wildlife on a more personal level. To kick off this initiative, he reached out to local schools and offered to give guest lectures about the importance of wildlife conservation. "I want to bring awareness to our community," he explained in his emails. "Let's inspire the next generation to care for wildlife just as much as I have come to do." The response was heartening. Schools were eager to book sessions with him. Jake spent countless hours preparing engaging presentations, ensuring they were filled with interactive elements. He included quizzes, videos, and even stories about his adventures in the cave sanctuary. He wanted everyone to feel as if they were part of his journey, seeing what he saw and feeling what he felt. Finally, the day of his first presentation arrived. Standing in front of a classroom full of bright-eyed students, Jake felt a blend of excitement and nervousness swirl within him. But as he began sharing his experiences, the playful lion cubs, the dedicated conservationists, and the stunning beauty of nature, he quickly found his rhythm. The children's faces lit up with wonder. Their curiosity sparked as they listened intently. They gasped at pictures of majestic servals lounging in sunny patches and giggled at clips of lion cubs pouncing on each other in playful antics. Jake could see that these moments were creating connections within hearts and minds. They were beginning to understand that every creature has its role within the ecosystem. After the presentation, Jake opened up a discussion platform for questions. Hands shot up eagerly. Children wanted to know how they could help protect animals or what they could do if they saw someone harming wildlife. The enthusiasm radiating from their willingness to learn filled Jake with hope. It was a reminder of why he had embarked on this journey in the first place. Every small action counts, he encouraged them, explaining various ways they could make a difference, from reducing plastic waste to volunteering for local cleanup projects. He distributed pamphlets filled with simple actions they could take every day to protect nature. As word spread about Jake's presentations, more opportunities emerged. Local community centers invited him to speak at family nights and eco-awareness events. Each time, he adapted his message for different audiences, but remained focused on inspiring change and fostering compassion toward wildlife. Before long, Jake realized that his efforts were gaining traction beyond his immediate community. Inspired by collaborative talks with local environmental groups, he helped launch a campaign promoting responsible tourism practices that respected wildlife habitats. This initiative aimed not only to educate visitors about preserving natural spaces, but also encourage them to become active participants in protecting the environment during their travels. With each gathering and event, Jake felt empowered. Stories unfolded into movements driven by shared values rooted in love for nature's creatures near and far. The network of concerned citizens began growing steadily, a vibrant community coalescing around mutual goals aimed at fostering understanding while protecting those who couldn't speak for themselves. Through outreach efforts that combined education with grassroots activism, his vision began flourishing like wildflowers across meadows under bright blue skies. Jake saw firsthand how passion could unite diverse groups across ages and backgrounds toward common goals, making real impacts along distant horizons. Reflecting on everything that had transpired since returning home, it was clear. This journey wasn't merely an expedition chasing roars echoing softly through darkened caves. It had transformed into an adventure filled with hope. Now armed not just with knowledge, but also determination. The seeds planted during those days spent surrounded by guardians would blossom into advocacy, rippling outward like waves across oceans ready for change. Changed forever by nature's call. Jake embraced every challenge ahead, confidently knowing that together they could safeguard all creatures, learning intimately how interconnected lives thrived, harmoniously intertwined amid shared commitments built upon respect. As Jake reflected on his remarkable journey, he realized just how profoundly this unexpected adventure had changed not only the course of his expedition, but also the very fabric of his life. What started as a pursuit of excitement and discovery transformed into a deep connection with the natural world and a newfound purpose that urged him to take action. The roaring sounds that once lured him into the bush now symbolized something far greater than he ever anticipated. They were calls for attention, reminders of the urgent need to listen to nature's whispers, an appeal from the wildlife pleading for understanding and protection. Jake recognized that every animal he encountered, every vibrant bird, and every playful cub held intrinsic value within the complex ecosystem they navigated together. This realization filled him with a sense of responsibility to advocate for those who could not speak for themselves. Returning home after witnessing the beauty and fragility of endangered creatures instilled in Jake a firm belief that conservation should be a collective effort. He understood now that humans play an essential role in nurturing and safeguarding the environment. As he organized presentations and educational initiatives, he shared stories that emphasized the importance of empathy and care for all living beings. He wanted to convey how listening to nature could help guide people toward more responsible practices in their daily lives. Jake often thought about Amina and the dedicated conservationists who worked tirelessly to preserve that hidden sanctuary in the cave. Their passion inspired him. They embodied the commitment needed to protect vulnerable species from threats like habitat loss and climate change. He realized that their efforts were crucial not only for wildlife, but also for humanity's future. Without biodiversity, our own existence would be at risk. Through his community outreach, Jake encouraged others to embrace this perspective shift as well. He spoke about the interconnectedness of life, illustrating how each animal plays a vital role in maintaining ecological balance. As children laughed at stories of his adventures with lion cubs and marveled at images of majestic servals, they began understanding that protecting wildlife was not just an act of kindness. It was necessary for their own welfare. Even adults found themselves engaged through Jake's heartfelt narratives. Many hadn't previously considered how their actions could impact distant ecosystems. Eye-opening discussions flourished around various topics like sustainable living, responsible tourism, and reducing plastic waste, all driven by a desire to forge connections between human actions and environmental consequences. Over time, Jake noticed a ripple effect emerging within his community. More families and individuals began volunteering for local conservation projects, participating in cleanup efforts, or advocating for policies designed to protect natural habitats. The movement grew stronger as people recognized that preserving biodiversity benefits us all. It enriches our lives and supports healthy environments where future generations can thrive. Jake's commitment was unwavering. He took every opportunity to emphasize how conservation efforts extended beyond borders, highlighting inspiring success stories from around the world, where communities banded together to safeguard their unique ecosystems. He shared these examples not just as tales of hope, but as evidence that collective action could yield powerful results and inspire proactive approaches towards safeguarding nature everywhere. Through workshops and initiatives led by Jake's enthusiasm, communities began organizing biodiversity festivals celebrating local wildlife, while incorporating education about conservation practices into family activities. Schools introduced environmental awareness programs inspired by his work, sparking curiosity within young minds eager to learn more about nature's wonders waiting just outside their doors. As seasons passed and seasons changed, the bond between Jake and nature grew deeper as well. The whispers he once heard resonating softly amid rustling leaves began transforming into clear calls, urging him onward toward his mission. "We must listen," nature seemed to say, reminding him always of its delicate balance, waiting patiently for stewards willing to learn how best to honor its harmony. Jake knew this journey had offered him more than thrilling adventures chasing echoes. It had gifted him insight, leading toward purposeful dedication, bridging connections throughout worlds, uniting human hearts with nature's timeless song. The call was stronger than he had imagined, a symphony echoing not just across vast landscapes, but resonating powerfully within each individual willing to heed its message. In embracing this lifelong commitment shaped by experiences among guardians of wildlife, protecting treasures nestled within both caves and jungles alike. Jake stood resolutely determined to ensure all creatures continue thriving harmoniously alongside humanity, amidst complexities woven naturally through life's extraordinary tapestry.